So obviously my topic is based off, organising your life, or as we wanted to call it, getting your shit together, which is pretty much what we're just going to agree it's called. So the things that I'm pretty much going to try and cover is we want to work out where we're spending our time, what do we want to do with that time, goals and their supporting habits. That's what we'll pretty much touch on at the weekly check-in that we have in on Sunday. So we'll be covering that and the importance of that. So I'm expecting on this Sunday to see an email from every single one of you in response to that. Plans to make the most of your time, tools for time management and sort of how to rescue some time, and as well as some self-care stuff just at the end. So when we've finally made some time for ourselves, what can we do with that? Or if we're starting to feel a bit overwhelmed with things, how can we sort of just wind down a little bit and sort of find that level of calm that we kind of need to, I guess, go about our days. So pretty much to get started, the why. So why do we want to have more time in our day? So pretty much where do we want to, so what do we want to do with that time? So some people go, oh, well, I just don't have time for anything. I feel like I'm running around. We will need to identify where that time is being spent, but why do you want more time? So right now, I want you guys to sort of just have a quick little think, and I will sort of just we'll put our hands up and just sort of go over some things of what do you want to do with that time? That could be, I want to read more. I want to spend more time with the family. I want to take the dog for more walks throughout the week. Just little things like that. So I'll give you a second to have a little think about it, and then we'll just sort of pick on a few and just sort of see where we're at. Does anyone have any ideas already of what they actually want to do with time that they have created? Chill? Yeah?
Maybe just meditate or just take a little bit more time out for me.
Yeah. Beautiful. So that's self-care stuff, so that might help you at the end there as well. Kyle?
Reading and walking the dog, but I struggle to even have time at the moment to shower, because by the time it's actually time for me to shower, it's 10:30 at night, and I'm yeah, I'd rather just go to bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do that a little bit earlier within my day.
Yeah. That's fair.
Mine is to take time to actually train.
Yeah.
Because my training's going to be a lot.
Yeah. Beautiful. Stuart?
I want to, when I have the time that I make, not feel guilty about having the time that I make.
Yeah. That's just saying. Been having that lately, and God, it's fucking good. It is amazing. When you're doing something you intentionally plan to do of just nothing, basically. Cool. Anyone else from this side?
I've got a few of the same things,
yeah.
Walk the dog, but I want to add in some other things that complement this, some swimming or a run, just
yeah.
one a week. But even that is
yeah.
I've stopped my swimming lately, and I don't like it.
Yeah, I need to get back into it too.
Yeah. You put your hand up?
Spend more time with my mates. Go out
yeah.
and do more things.
Yeah. Beautiful. So you can write, if you've got something to write things down on, or if you want something to write something down, just call on Christy. More so that, along these points you might be oh yeah, as I said, those ones that we just covered of what you want to spend your time doing, that's where you can sort of write that down so you know for later that we are actually building sort of that plan. So what is something that you want to spend less time doing? So that might be cooking. It might be cleaning, because you might be spending so much time throughout the week cleaning, and then on the weekend you're oh, got to do the big clean now, and then you end up spending 2 hours there. So just quickly, we'll take 3. What are one thing from 3 people that you want to spend less time doing? Sammy?
Being on technology.
Technology? Yep, beautiful. Social medias?
Driving to and from work.
yeah. Yeah. With travel times, yeah.
Driving around, being a chauffeur for the kids.
Yeah.
Just takes that time of
For a
my
really
day.
good podcast that'll help that time fly.
Yeah, one more?
That's where I usually do most.
No, I've got a funny one.
Nothing?
Probably,
Yeah, gaming? Yeah. So a lot of it does generally come down to most of the time for some it'll be stuff around the house, it'll be technology, and then sort of looking at that, it's okay, it's not necessarily that we don't, we shouldn't be able to do any of it, but we can definitely spend less time on that, and we will, and when I say rescue time, a lot of that will come from that, more so social media platforms. So hopefully there's some stuff there that would definitely be able to help. So then we need to look at, okay, what are we actually spending our time doing? And doing a time audit is the best way to do that. Now, I will be able to put up a document. So a lot of what I will cover, so there's this lady named Nicole Avery. She is a mother of 5. She runs a blog called Planning with Kids. She also does like online courses. She does mini seminars, pretty much all the works on helping people with their time management and organisation. So pretty much what we're covering tonight. So I've got a few of her things in place for you guys. But if you want it in more depth, she's got a ton of information up on her website. And again, I will give you access to her time audit spreadsheet. There's 2 versions. One of them is just like you enter it in, like they're literally in 15-minute time increments from like 4:30 in the morning all the way to 10:30 at night. And there's one that's like kind of like a drop down just to make it easier in terms of the activities, but you'll fill that out, right? So that way we can identify, okay, where are we actually putting our time? Is it, you might find that you're spending 15 minutes picking what to wear in the morning, or you might realise that you'll be doing like you'll cook dinner, you'll do maybe some of the dishes, but it's piled up after dinner and you're like, yeah, I'll leave that till tomorrow. Or the dishwasher's full again, I'll leave that till tomorrow. You'll find that with that time audit, if you unstack the dishwasher, it takes like less than 5 minutes to just freaking unstack it. Why do we need to push it on to tomorrow? There's no real reason. And, you know, your tomorrow self won't appreciate it. I know I don't. Like, I'll leave, like, you know, one of the things we will cover is never going to bed with the dishes full in the sink. Because, you know, again, how many times have you cooked dinner and go, that's Shannon's problem tomorrow, we'll deal with that. And then it comes to tomorrow and you go into the kitchen, you make breakfast, add to the pile. Lunch comes, add to the pile. Dinner comes, yeah, still could fit a few more. Wednesday comes and you're like, oh shit, now I have to like do the whole thing rather than sort of cleaning as you go. So again, we will cover that in a bit more depth. But the time audit will help sort of expose and sort of show you what your time perceptions are, how long it actually takes you to what you think it does. Again, I'll post that up there like on the page so you guys can do a time audit as well. Next thing, barriers. So what are the things that are currently stopping you from doing things better with your time? Or, you know, I mean, coming tonight is a great step into overcoming that because, again, not knowing enough information can be a barrier as to, I don't really know how to get myself off social media. I don't want to delete it. No one really wants to, right? My biggest thing with it is like my work is still technically on social media. And I'll go over how I sort of got past that and now sort of have a plan around it. But again, like we need to sort of identify the barriers. So similar like with how we would have done goals is identify what's stopping you or what your fears might be. So then we can then work past those. So the main thing of tonight is plan what you can. So obviously we can't be on top of every single little thing, but we can have certain plans in place or routines, or as I was just talking with Kyla before, rituals, because sometimes, you know, you can have, like some people can have routines easy. Family life especially, a lot of it is going to be the same, right? You know, you've got to get you've got to get the kids up for school at a certain time, you've got to get them ready, you've got to have their lunches ready, you've got to head out the door, you might take X amount of time to get to school, you might wait for them to go in, you know what time to pick them up, you know what time you've got to be to work, like it's almost the same thing from day to day. So setting that, it's easier, not, you know, super easy, but it's easier to set a routine for that. When you've got a young baby, you'll have more so rituals. So things you'll do the same each time. So then that way it's almost like just instinct of how you'll do it. You're doing it the easiest way possible and you're not sort of like fluffing around doing other things. Because again, you might have a goal of a routine, but you've got a bub that has no sort of perception of your time or their time and you can't control all of that. So planning the week ahead, so this is where our weekly check-in comes in. Now, it's not obviously focused purely on your personal weeks, so that's something that you'll need to do. But in terms of when it relates to your goals and supporting habits, so the weekly check-in, if you haven't looked at it, it has 3 tasks that it gets you to set each week. And those 3 tasks are in relation to what your goal might be. It can be literally anything that you want to work on. So for some, it might be, okay, I want to eat better, and that might be their goal. Or even lose weight might be their goal, and obviously one of their things they need to focus on is eating better. So one of their tasks might be, okay, well, I'll do a food log for 2 days. I'll make sure I drink 2 litres of water. And then it might be, just say I have like takeout like 3 times a week. I might cut that back to once this week. And they might be your 3 tasks that are supporting to your, they're supportive of your goals, but they're also going to help build better habits. Then at the following Sunday, when you get the next email, you'll review that. Did you complete your tasks? Why or why not? And then that's where I can come in and go, okay, well, this wasn't completed. Let's talk about why, right? You may have already identified that, but then we need to also work on a plan so then that is achieved the following week. So if you're not already doing those, that can be a really good way to keep you accountable. So then that way we can help you get to your goals faster, but also without, all the shit in between that sort of takes us off course. So with planning the week ahead, look at what needs to be done each day. So what I'll do, I brought it here and Kyla's already seen it because she came over a few Fridays ago and I showed her my little baby. So it's St. Belford, it's their 2020 planner. Now, it has almost everything you need in terms of like budgets, like meal plans, goals, everything, and it also helps me like set my week up, right? Habit tracking, all of it. So I will literally write down in one section of it my tasks for the week. So I know that I'm getting my emails on a Sunday, so I make sure that I write on the Monday, pretty much Tuesday and Wednesday, to be checking that and getting on that. If I have certain things to pay, I'll write that down. If I have certain places to be or deadlines, that goes in there. And then I check that almost every day. So I'll check it before I go to bed. That's part of my night routine, which I'll go over briefly. But I make sure that's set for the week so then I know what I've got on, right? And then with the check-ins, what do you need to do that will help you achieve your goals? So if I've got anything in here and pretty much in this one as well, at the top, it's got like a mission progress. So what can I do this week that's going to help me achieve what I want to do? So as I said, this thing is like my lifesaver because it implements everything that like I was trying to do, but now it's just all in one place for me. So hopefully I'm not like rambling too much for you guys and you're sort of all on the same page somewhere as I am. Yeah? Yeah. So so it's got a self-care menu, which again, I'll cover that completely at the end. So what it offers at the start.
So probably add what I'm asking.
Yeah.
So it covers everything. Everything that you're going to set a goal for is in there.
Pretty much, as close to as you can, right? So with this self-care stuff, it's got like a spread where you can put in things that will be mind, body, and soul. 10 minutes, 30 minutes, and 60 minutes. So then if you've got that time, you're like, fuck, I need something like, list 3 things you're grateful for is something that's going to be for the mind. Do a bit of stretching for the body. Like, if I know I have 30 minutes, might take a bath. Like, it's just those things that are just looking after yourself, again, in those 3 like mind, body, and soul topics that you've got there. You know what you can do. You can do that meditation. They even, this company also provide a lot of they have free resources as well on how to set habits, how to track your habits, set goals and things. But inside here is the how-tos. It steps you through it, and there's also on their Instagram almost like a walkthrough of each section of the book. So then that way you can fill it out as best as possible, and you can also customize it. In terms of the meal plan, it's more that you. So, because we'll pretty much go over meal plan and prep next. It's got a spread here that you can put in your breakfast, lunch, and dinner from for the whole week and snacks. So then that way you know what you're eating that week, you know what you need to buy that week. That space can be used for that. I actually used mine for gratitude, so I sort of customized it because I've got my meal plan printed in my pantry. So that's a whole new thing. That's a whole nother thing in terms of organisation. But I thought, why waste the space? I can use that as my daily gratitude. Obviously, I've missed a couple there, don't judge. But we're getting better at that one. But yeah, I can have you look through it if you want at the end and see.
I'm just curious because I have 5 different books.
Yeah.
Diary for this, diary for work,
Yeah.
diary for home, diary for this.
Yeah.
If we
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen.
If we
No,
created a book that kind of served all those purposes, would that be something you guys would love?
Yeah. Because the only thing it doesn't have is training. And so we have something in plan. It's still in the planning stages of a planner, kind of like this style, in the sense that it's going to cover all 3 topics, our fitness, nutrition, and mind sections, in enough detail that sort of supports what we do here and what we do with our goals chats and things like that. So that is something that's like very slowly. We need to get back on it, but we have certainly discussed it. But if that is something that you guys are interested in, it's that all in one place, bam, ready to go thing that we're.
Yeah, and now we've done this stuff, that helps us kind of piece it
Yeah,
together.
just adds more to it. So yeah, if you've got any like suggestions for it that you want to see in it, that like kind of make it a bit more like personalised, let us know. Like we've pretty much got like a plan of what we want to see. We've just got to like put it together. But yeah, so
Ballot journal.
same.
Ballot journal.
Well, yeah, and I think like, even a calendar, it's like the whole month.
Yeah,
So then you can, I procrastinate about everything, right?
Yeah.
I've noticed that it's just the 2 guys getting stuff. And I said I have 5 different books, and
Yeah.
I get sick trying to find that book, or I've lost
Yeah.
that book, I'll put that one there, and that's why I think anything that you can,
Yeah.
that's why I like that idea.
yeah. So something all in one place. I needed something like 1st of Jan sort of thing. Like I bought it literally like December or November or something. But yeah, so we will create something like that. But yeah, all in one place does make it a lot easier. Meal plan and prep. Now, you don't necessarily have to be that crazy person, or no disrespect if that's you, that preps everything on a Sunday. Like you've got breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks all ready to go. You take a photo for Instagram, and you probably won't even eat half of it, or you'll probably eat that plus more. But at least sit down and plan your week, even a month if you can. If you can sit there and write down what meals you're going to want as a family for the month, you know exactly what to buy. You can do it based off your schedule. So for example, like a Monday might be your meat and veg day. Keep it simple, right? Tuesday might be a quick meal. So there might be a few kids' activities on that night, you need something quicker. Wednesday, have something that can be prepared ahead. So you might already have the veggies chopped up for, just chuck it all together. It might be like a skillet type of thing. Or even a slow cooker. So that might be that day. Thursday might be a bulk meal, something that you can have for meal preps. Friday might be just your leftover day. Like sometimes, like obviously you've got other plans and whatnot. So you can sort of set that earlier on, like as a month in advance. So then that way you've got it all ready to go. You already know what days usually you have to be sort of somewhere in the afternoons and how much time you might have to cook dinner. So doing that in advance doesn't necessarily mean you need to cook everything on a Sunday, but you know what you have to do each night for that. Or again, prep it in the morning and put it in the slow cooker. I personally, I'm so basic with what I eat because, again, I am a little bit limited compared to most, but I will eat the same thing like every day for like a month or more, maybe just change the spices I put in it. But for me, it doesn't bother me. I'm getting the nutrients out of it. My goal is to eat it for performance, so it doesn't really bother me. But obviously, if you're feeding like a whole family and a variety of people, they're going to want different things. Meal prep what you can. So that might be the lunches for the week, and that might be all you need to save some time. So you can do that on a Sunday. And then the dinners, you might just, as I said, make it to schedule. So meat and veg might be an easy for a Monday if you have to run around or whatever it might be. Any questions on sort of the meal preppy side of things? Not nutrition based, but in terms of how you can sort of save some time there, or is that sort of just roughly covering?
I like the idea, meal prep to everybody else is alright, I need to make chicken and veg.
Yeah.
Weight that. The idea that you have meat and veg on Monday, this make a big meal so I can, like a casserole, so I can freeze components of it. I think that's a great little thing if you could give an example that people could run off that. It makes it a lot
Yeah.
useful.
Yeah.
In your mind,
Yeah.
Have you got any tips? Because I want a meal prep, but my freezer is tiny.
Oh, I
and
know.
Yeah, I feel like it's not going to last me, but my meal prep isn't going to last me the whole week if I don't do a big batch of chucks in the freezer.
Yeah.
How big's your freezer?
It's
Yeah.
I have a freezer at work that is that wide by that wide at the top,
Yeah.
and that wide by that wide at the bottom, and I can fit about 15 meals in there.
So it might just be packing in small containers. Yeah.
Containers, split containers.
I've got a bunch of meal
to take, yeah.
Filling up the whole freezer.
Yeah.
Here's my problem
Yeah.
right now.
Could you get yourself a standalone freezer?
Yeah, it might be worth marketplace. Yeah, that's what I do at the moment because I mainly meal prep my dinners because like my lunches are kind of just like throw together frozen veg and whatever. But I will, because obviously you want things to stay good and have some sort of freshness to it. So yeah, I'll have 3 days ready to go in the fridge and then the rest in the freezer because then obviously you're not just freezing everything as soon as you cook it because then wait for it to defrost. Although that is a good time to like, if you've got a cordless vacuum, do the kitchen. While you're waiting, because you know how long food takes when you're standing there staring at the friggin' microwave? It is so much longer. But if you start vacuuming, you run out of time real quick. But that does work. That is productive multitasking. So I will say, if you're going to buy something like, or save money for something, get a fucking cordless vacuum. Holy shit. Holy shit. I cannot stress that enough. I'm partial neat freak. Like partial, not to the extreme. I do vacuum more than the average person, but it means I don't have to spend 2 hours on a Sunday doing it or whatever it may be, unless I choose to, which sometimes I do. Again, weird. But I will use that time. Kettle's on. Oh, let's just vacuum the floor. I hate the feeling of shit on my feet. But cordless vacuum, you just pull it out, quick vac. So you don't have to plug it into like 5 different power points throughout the house, even if it's a small house. Drives me nuts, but that can save some time if, obviously budget depends.
One, can you move into my house? Yeah. and two, Kristen gave a good idea, like pre-making your food, she gets her food delivered from Coles.
Yeah, so that was the other thing. Yeah, so if you've done a meal plan for, menu plan for like the month or the week, jump on Coles, because then again, you're saving time not having to kind of run off like I had to grab some extra stuff. Exactly, or you just, I know, if you're me, I try and find new things. I may not buy it, but you'll walk around. You won't buy half the stuff that you're reading the labels on and stuff like that. You buy it online. Yeah, it's delivered, or you can organise to pick it up.
Well, I tell you all, I went down to Safeway yesterday to buy a $70 bottle of water, 70-cent bottle of water, and walked away at $65.
That is me at Kmart.
Yeah. Not buy a bottle of wine, and I stayed in the shop until the bottle shop shut.
Yeah, but in terms of saving time,
Back to Coles again for the rest of the week. So I'm full of meal prepped.
yes, in terms of saving time, that Coles online can be like the best thing you do, because I don't know how many times I've had to run to the shops because I've either forgotten something only because I've been distracted, or I've been in a rush. Whereas if you can just allocate that time, sit there, sort out what you need because you've done your meal plan, then it's done for you. Yeah, and right? And you're not spending more money going on, do I need to buy another bottle of soy sauce? And then you end up with 6 of them. You don't need to. So that, money is not. It's only because I bought 2.
Half jars of fucking red curry.
Yeah, so that can save some money. So on to pretty much going on with the whole vacuuming thing and my little, I literally have written cordless vacuum. Because keep your hotspots clean, right? If you want to feel that little bit more organised or have that bit more clarity in your head, keep them clean, right? So clean as you go when you're doing the cooking. Don't just leave it at the end because you'll get to the end and you're like, I just cooked everything up, we've all did. And you might have a partner that might help, and if they do that for you, amazing, right? Get them involved, get your family involved. But, if you're done using the chopping board, quickly clean it, put it on a drying rack, done. You don't have to do it as you've finished everything or once you've all finished dinner. Even once you've finished dinner, I said don't leave dishes in the sink, do it before you go to bed because that's going to make the next day so much better. I don't know, if you guys get as much satisfaction as I do. I wake up, walk in the kitchen's spotless, and I'm like, fuck yes. I don't have to do anything but have my breakfast and whatever the hell I want to do with that, maybe even 10 minutes I might allocate to myself in the morning. So, because those little messes that we start to just push aside, and it may not even be much, it might just be depending on how OCD you are, the cushions are out of place, right? Or the throw is not necessarily on the proper part of the couch. Twinge. So those little things, they will just sit there in your subconscious, and just eat away at you, and that can play a part in your mental well-being, right? So if you just take those extra few seconds to quickly tidy up, or again, if something's in the microwave because you've meal prepped it, do that then. Don't do it when you're like running around the house because you think you've got 100 things to do. Slow down, use that time wisely. We will, like with multitasking, it's actually a load of crap. There is productive multitasking and there is just worthless multitasking, which I think I am kind of jumping ahead, but it's like kind of on the topic. So when you multitask, like you think you're saving time, but you're really not. It's almost like 40% less productive to try and multitask. If you're cooking and listening to a podcast, different story. Go nuts, right? Or even driving, listening to podcasts. But if you're trying to spend time with your kids and looking at your emails, you're not necessarily in the right spot to reply. So you'll look at it, you'll read it, then you'll put it away. You'll still have to reply to that later. You're going to spend more time rereading it, making sure you read it right, and then replying. So you've taken away a present moment with your kids. I'm sorry. To read an email when you could have just waited until later instead of trying to multitask. Can you not hear? I feel like it's louder this time. That's all right. I'll use what voice I've got for that. Cool. So, routine where you can, right? So, your meal plan, make that a routine. Once you've done that, you don't have to worry about it. Nighttime routines and morning routines. So for me, more so, I have a nighttime routine rather than a morning routine as well. I don't have kids to get ready. My nighttime does sort of involve getting a big kid get ready for the next day, but that's fine. We'll get to that. So again, clean the dishes after dinner. That's part of my nighttime routine. Setting up for breakfast the next day. So especially even if you've got little kids, have it out on the bench ready to go. Like you know what cereals they might have, they might change it up, but if you're going to do a cooked breakfast, just know where everything is. Like everything should already have its spot. For that, prep lunches or what you can of them. So again, more so for kids, but if you've got a big kid like my Daniel, we prep his lunch. I'm not even joking. We started that yesterday, and it's all in a bag ready to go, or in the fridge stacked for him. So then he doesn't have to think about it, and I know he's eating, so we're good. But I do that the night before because you don't want to be fucking around with that in the morning. Unstack the dishwasher if the dishwasher's full. Again, takes less than 5 minutes. Don't do it the next day because you know you can't be bothered. General tidy. So again, if there's some things out of place that you know it's just going to eat away at you, and you want to clear your mind, just quickly put them where they need to be. Again, everything should have its home, and that's where that keeping your hotspots clean. And again, your hotspots might be living room, kitchen. Study if you do like work at home or study. Yeah.
Any tips for telling everyone else in the family that there's a spot for it?
Yeah, that's the other side of things, right? Yeah, no, you can't just give up. Look, and this is where things can be. Yes, so you can do like labeling. I've got like sort of my set containers. I have more stuff than Dan, right? Look, I do most of the tidying because, again, I'm pretty anal about it. So, like, I kind of just let him do his thing. He does his sort of general tidy stuff, but again, I do have the time for more time than him to do that stuff. But again, like, you can set, like, if you want to go to that extent of, okay, each tub has like a label on it for stuff. So in the bathroom, you might have a tub for deodorants and perfumes, then you might have one for makeup stuff or whatever it might be. But you can pretty much do that with any room in the house, like stuff in the pantry, and then like I guess toys for the kids. Like there are ways that you can sort of section all that, so then they know where that home is. They can start to learn that. But again, it's just going to take some time, right? Getting your kids involved. Like again, I don't have kids, and not necessarily all of us here have kids, but getting them involved is going to help in the long run. At first, it's going to throw some challenges. They're going to, have that resistance towards it, or they'll do it. And you're like, oh, so could have done that better and it would have taken less time. But those initial stages and that first few pains will be worth it once they actually do start doing it for themselves. So their lunches or getting their clothes out for school the next day. Again, the first few times will take more time, but dedicate that at the start, so then later you don't even have to worry about that. Your time now can be allocated elsewhere, or even just having better discussions with them while they're doing stuff so you're not actually doing it. So that's on that one. Other things in the nighttime routine. We did the general tidy, checking your calendar. So before I go to bed, I have a look at what's on the next day, make notes if there's anything else I need to add to it. So again, to-do lists, like put that in alongside it, all right? And then if you've got time to wind down, everyone winds down a bit differently, but that's when you'll then use that sort of spare time or that white space to do that. Again, schedules are different for everyone, but that nighttime routine and doing that each night will pay off. I mean, tonight, for example, I'm home later than normal, but I will still keep that same routine because then the next day will be a lot smoother for me. Sweet as. So yeah, we pretty much already covered this, but in terms of like foundations to organising family life, so this is where Nicole Avery sort of has some really good pointers. So quite a broad one, but know what it is you want from your life. So I guess kind of like thinking about what your goals are, you know, and especially in terms of organisation, what you want to do with your time and that. Create a rhythm to your days to help you achieve that. Get the family involved as best as you can. It might just be starting with small tasks. So it might mean having difficult conversations with them because, you know, sometimes it's easy for you to just do it rather than having that conversation of, can you just pick up your fucking clothes and put them in the wash basket? Pardon you? So, you know, if that's happening, like I literally bought an extra basket for Dan for his work clothes that he will wear again instead of just leaving him on the floor. Again, keep it in spots because I know he doesn't need it washed yet, so it's like, don't leave it on the floor, but we'll put it in this basket. Anyway, having those conversations will pay off even if it's difficult in the start. Do what you can to prepare for tasks in advance. So as I said, plan ahead as best as you can. Again, there's going to be things that come up and that's where we need to plan for the white space. So when you do your time audits, you'll be able to see where you can fit some white space. We don't want to just completely fill out our time. There's a difference between being flat out and feeling stressed out because the amount of stuff you do. But then if you've sort of planned your day and it may be full, but you've got stuff in there the self-care routines like meditating or whatever it may be, it's going to feel less full, being almost more full, if that makes sense. So that time audit is definitely really important to do so then you can figure out what we can, where we are and where we actually want to be and what we want to do with that time. So time management principles, so know where you want to spend your time, so that generally is in line with your goals. So whether it be training, whether it be reading more, walking the dogs, even if it is trying to spend more time meal prepping or looking at what you're eating and things like that. Plan what you can. So again, with your families, generally when you've got a family, you've got more of a chance to have that routine in terms of nighttime routines, morning routines, and that middle of the day stuff. Because again, school's generally always at the same time. It's always the same place, you know that kind of stuff. And if you've already planned your meals for the week, that makes it that little bit easier. So, try and take advantage of how repetitive a family lifestyle can be. Single task, that's what I sort of covered before. So again, we try and play that trick on ourselves that multitasking is productive. It's not, unless it's those small things like doing your, listening to podcasts and cooking. Because if you're just flicking between, so one of the sort of statements here is doing several tasks at once is a trick we play on ourselves, thinking we're getting more done. In reality, our productivity goes down by as much as 40%. We don't actually multitask. We switch between tasks, rapidly shifting from one thing to another, interrupting ourselves unproductively and losing time in the process. So just because you're looking at two things at once and doing two things at once does not mean it was any quicker. Some things I will agree that can be more productive done together, but others not, especially with that email one and trying to be present. It makes it so hard to be present if you're trying to multitask. Yeah, if you're that flat out that you feel the need to multitask, we need to obviously evaluate what's going on with the rest of your time in your day. Have boundaries on where you spend your time, and that's where we'll definitely be covering that tools for time management. And then again, have that I can't even say the word. Have that white space, all right? So have that space where when things come up that you just cannot plan for, you know you've got the time for it and you're not as stressed about it because you're okay, well, I've at least, roughly planned to have a bit of white space in that day. So I'm hoping the next one I've got, yay. So my favorite one, only because it is one of the biggest things that I've implemented, apart from like the easiest stuff for me with doing lists, because I like making lists. You know, that was kind of a given, like in terms of like, I can follow that because it's written down. That made it easy to sort of start getting things a bit more organized. But then I was like, I'm still wasting time, right? I still feel like I don't have time. And that's pretty much why you guys are here, because obviously there is something in you going, you just feel like you don't have time. And I'm not here to argue that, because you're obviously feeling that way because you've allocated your time to all these places that may not necessarily may need some almost like prioritizing, and then obviously eliminating what we don't need. And again, you know, there's a lot of factors in place, or like a lot of differences between like you and me that can come into like your daily routines. So again, like Stu's day compared to my day is going to look a lot different. There'll be days that I'll be like, oh, I don't have time, but I don't have a kid. But that doesn't mean I don't have time. It means I've probably put my time in places I shouldn't have, right? And that's the same thing. If you don't have kids, doesn't mean you have time. And even if you've got kids, doesn't mean that you don't have time. We can always find it. It's just we've all got the same amount of time in the day. There's just certain things that we have to get done, and certain things that we probably spend almost too much time on. I will go over a little chart in terms of like how to sort out what's important and urgent, important and not urgent, and then not important, urgent, not important, not urgent. There's like kind of like a thing that can help you sort of help allocate your tasks or priorities that way. But in terms of these sort of like tools for time management or rescuing time. So the first one is screen time, right? So if you've got an iPhone, I'm not exactly sure what it is on the like Androids, but
just get an iPhone.
Just get an. You're already wasting time if you've got an Android. No, you've already. I'm joking. No,
I'm not having this conversation, Tyler.
Yeah.
You can't airdrop. You can't airdrop.
No, but in terms of that, so screen time, it identifies how much time you're actually spending on your phone, and you would be freaking surprised if you haven't actually looked at that you would spend so much more time than you think on it. And all it comes from 90% of the time would be your phone would ding, and it could either be because you've received a message, or because, you know, it's just Optus telling you that, you know, your bill's due, or, you know, you might have just an app that just randomly tells you, like, I don't know, the Lotto app says, oh, like, we've got the $36 million thing on, like, all these things, but you'll see it pop up and you'll open it, you're like, oh, I don't really need to deal with that, and you're like, okay, let's just scroll. You'll be scrolling, and, you know, you're not really getting any satisfied, but it's 30 minutes later and you haven't done anything but scroll. And that's where a lot of our time goes, and you don't realize it, and then that's where your screen time will be almost like, 3 to 4 hours a day, like half the time, because again, if you add that up, that, you know, if you're spending half an hour like in that rabbit hole of just scrolling, and you do that multiple times a day, it may not have that effect immediately, but then obviously that's time that we can be better spent elsewhere. So looking at screen time and then using the features it has to help limit that. So there's a downtime that you can set on your phone, which actually lets you set a schedule. So between 11 and 1 p.m, you won't receive notifications, or you can't use apps. You can set people that you want to receive calls from or text messages from during that time, but you can pretty much have every other app inactive. And if you want to use it, you can click on it. It gives you the option for give me 1 more minute, give me 15, or ignore this for today. So you can still get into it if you desperately need to, but that can just sort of force you that you don't need to worry about that. And a lot of the time, even if it's work related, you can put that aside for like 2 hours and it's not going to matter. It's not going to make a difference right then or in 2 hours time most of the time. So there's no harm putting that aside and focusing your time better, like you can use your time better elsewhere. So I use that. I set app limits as well. So I might have allocated, I'm allowed an hour a day of Instagram and Facebook, and that'll accumulate. So every time I open it, it'll start counting, and then it will say, warning, you've got 5 minutes left on this app, and then it shuts me out. And that's a bit different to downtime, in that downtime doesn't let anything open, and then the app limit means like you might set it for particular apps that you just know that you're going to spend a lot of time on. The other one is News Feed Eradicator. Now this is like one of the favorite ones I found on the laptop. So it's something that you can install that what it does is that it's on, I think only on Chrome at the moment, where it comes up with a quote on your newsfeed instead of a newsfeed. So you still get your messages, notifications, someone tagged you in something, whatever it may be, but you can't scroll because there's nothing there but a quote. And the quotes are pretty cool, and there is one that I'll say at the end as well. But that can again, save time. If you're trying to get work done on your laptop and then you're like, okay, well, I need to, again, work through Facebook. I'll just quickly see what Stu's posted in our staff page, and I'll scroll, and scroll, and scroll. Oh, someone tagged me in something. Let's have a look at that. Scroll. It's just a waste of fucking time. So I get rid of that, right? And then the other one is notifications. Again, you open your phone as soon as any notification pops up, or you at least look at it, and that takes you away from the moment you're in, right? So what you can do with the notification one, again, which is another one of my favorites, is, I've got a step-by-step thing. So in your settings, when you go down to notifications, it gives you options for each app that you've got on your phone for the notification style. Now, if you can either turn it off completely, so all the apps you really don't need notifications on. So if you happen to be a phone app little gamer, delete the app. But if you're not going to delete the gaming apps, but they send you saying, I don't know, friggin' your farm, or the farm needs to be harvested or something. Turn them off, right? Just turn it off completely. But obviously, so for me, again, my biggest thing is I'm like, I can't delete Facebook because, again, we've got the members page on there. We've got our staff page on there. We still communicate through, we've got so many platforms to communicate on, but we still use that as one anyway. And that's fine, but half the time I don't need the messages right that second. I will obviously, I'll always check in before, with time before a 9:30 class or a 4:30 class, just in case someone's gone 30 minutes before I need you to take it. I will go in and check that. But by turning off these notifications or setting them to only appear, oh, my phone's in my butt. I was going to show you, but it's there. On the screen, you can, when you just sort of scroll up and it shows you the notification center, that will show your notifications from Facebook, Instagram, whatever it may be, that didn't pop up because you obviously told not to, but they still come through, right? So then you're not getting distracted by it, you're not unlocking your phone as much to see it, and you get to choose when you want to spend that time scrolling or replying to notifications. So like I said with the work one, my phone won't light up anymore unless it's a message from specific people, more so text messages or calls. But if I go, okay, I need to check if something's happened with work or whatever it might be, then I'll open it, check the notifications, and then, that's me choosing to spend that time. It's not me going, oh, notifications, scroll for 30 minutes, which is something I honestly was doing way too often. Is again, notification would come through and I'd spend 30 minutes scrolling, then I'd check Instagram and spend probably another 30 minutes there, right? Not needed, you're not any more satisfied for it, and you're just wasting that time. So that notification one is probably one of the biggest things you can do if you are someone that is just mindlessly scrolling. The other one that I didn't mention is there's one called self-control on the computer as well, on a Mac. I think there might be one for others, but I don't know if it's called the exact same thing. But basically it blocks access, or it can block access to websites that you've blacklisted for a specific period of time. So if you need to go on your computer and you don't want to end up in that rabbit hole of something, but you know you have to get shit done, you can blacklist certain websites for 15, 30 minutes. And this one, you have to wait that time. You can't just turn the computer off and turn it back on again and get back onto it. It literally will blacklist it, literally will cut it off, and then once your time frame is up, you can go back into it. So if you're doing things like, homework or study or whatever it might be, and you're going to end up on Facebook when you really don't need to, blacklist it. And you have no choice but to get shit done, yeah? So they're pretty much what the 4 or 5 of probably the best things you can do on technology to pretty much use it less. That's when it becomes really effective, is that you can implement stuff on stuff that was apparently created to help us be more productive, but completely fucked our lives, I reckon. It totally messed things up in that regard. With one of the quotes that sort of come up, which sort of worked with that one of leaving the dishes, it was never leave that till tomorrow, which you can do today. That was good old Ben Franklin. So that came up on the newsfeed Eradicator yesterday for me. And I was that could not be more fucking accurate right now. Which is true, right? you half the time have no excuse of doing it like that day rather than just pushing it back till tomorrow, making it tomorrow's problem. So just to sort of like quickly touch on, write shit down, set schedules and deadlines for things. Do your monthly or even weekly plan, depending on how organised you can be with that. Keep your hotspots clean. So do what you can throughout the week. You might have like certain days throughout the week where you might allocate, even if it's just like 10 minutes, if you can find that, to do like a quick vacuum or to do like quick tidy the bathrooms or whatever it might be. So then when it comes to Sunday, if that is your day that you do want to do a bit of cleaning, you know it's not going to take 2 hours because everything's roughly clean, and it might just be like the other jobs. Like some people, you know, they'll like scrub the shower throughout the week, like when they're having a shower, but you might end up doing that on the weekends and things like that, but you're not wasting a whole block of time doing that one specific thing. So that's something throughout the week. The planning the week ahead and the weekly check-in is something, because that obviously is going to help us build better habits, and those habits might actually be some things that we sort of discussed tonight. So it might be trying to use your social media less, it might be doing your time audit, it might be your task, it might be just writing down some things that you want to do with the time that we're going to slowly, like it's not just going to happen straight away. You're not going to be like, oh, I have all this time now. It does take time, because obviously you need to work out like what your somewhat of a schedule looks like, especially when it changes. The self-care menu thing that I was talking about. So when we do feel a little bit overwhelmed, or we do, you know, ideally we want to have some time to allocate to ourselves, we need things that are obviously going to almost like ground us and just sort of bring us back into that moment. Ideally, we want to be almost in every part of our day, like as calm and almost like as slowly moving as possible. Not in the sense of like slow and getting stuff like done, like you're just sort of taking like an hour for something that should take 5 minutes, but you want to try and be as present in each of those moments. So even if it's something like driving, right? Obviously you want to make sure that you're not rushing around everywhere for safety, but even just being present driving and just being with your thoughts then is going to be so much better than everything racing around up in your head, right? So by writing those to-do lists before you go to bed means that when you're going to sleep, you're not thinking of everything you've got to do the next day, or it should take that away. You might still think about some, especially if they're maybe a bit more stressful than normal. There might be some tasks there with that, but writing that down at least sort of gets it out a little bit, so then you can hopefully have a bit more of a peaceful sleep. But the more we can sort of declutter up here, the easier it's going to be able to tackle whatever's going on throughout the day, and as I said, like be more present with each of your tasks. Like the hardest thing that people find is being like alone with their thoughts. Like they really struggle to just sit there in silence and just sort of let their mind wander. On my walks, like it's probably my favourite thing. Like the amount of conversations up here, like as you guys could probably tell, we have so much fun. We don't mind being alone with our thoughts. There is multiple of us up there. Yeah, exactly. But no, it is one of the most beneficial things you can do is being alone with your thoughts, but it's the hardest thing to start doing. It's not something you can force, but it does take a little bit of time with that. But yeah, so, and then journaling with what Stu covers a lot on, has been lately. Something that I've started like gradually doing. It's a habit to do every single day. So it's not something that you can wake up and be like, I'm going to do this every day, because you will cock it up. And that's fine. Right? And sometimes it's not even about journaling every single day. It might be just journaling when you have certain feelings or, you know, emotions that you just need to either get out and again, clear that head. And then that's being with your thoughts as well, because you're then putting it on paper and you feel that little bit lighter. Problems might not be solved, right? So financial problems, you might write that down because you're stressing out about it. They're still going to be there, right? You've still got debts to pay, you've still got bills to pay, but you're going to feel like a little bit more at ease that you've just sort of written it down and just taken that pressure out of your mind. Again, journaling doesn't necessarily have to be as like in like deep, dark emotion. Like it can be literally anything. It can be you writing how you don't know what to write, because then in like 2 weeks' time, you know, you'll be writing things that, you know, as I said, being with your thoughts, they'll start coming out a bit more fluently. So if you can start implementing journaling, that's part of that, also self-care as well. Some of the things that I sort of have written down for that, like when I do feel a little bit overwhelmed and I just need something, Some of the ones that I don't necessarily meditate. It is probably something that a few people have brought up in the weekly check-ins that they want to start doing more of. And I think that's amazing because that I haven't tried it, but I know it's hard, right? It's something new as well, which can be a bit daunting, but if you can, try and schedule time to start meditating, taking cold showers. Again, that's a moment for yourself that's sort of being alone with your thoughts. I'll read, I'll take the dog for a walk, have a bath, listen to a podcast, even taking a nap and doing it guilt-free. So as we were talking about before, having that guilt-free to it, it can be quite hard because you're I've got so many things to do, but that's what we're trying to eliminate, right? We're trying to have it all out so we know exactly what to do. And again, I'll quickly put up that priority thing. But if we have a plan for things, that plan ideally stops us from feeling guilty for doing the things that we want to do and probably need to do. So, even something like reading or meditating when you've got, I can't think, just say if you haven't even planned dinner for that night, I can't read now, I've got to plan dinner, right? And if you do read and you haven't planned dinner, that's when you're going to start feeling guilty about it, right? So if we can start to, identify what our common themes are in terms of where our time's being spent and where we're maybe even wanting to, you might sort of start seeing, okay, well, I'm always wanting to have a nap around this sort of time when I have this stuff due. Is that just us procrastinating, or do we actually need a nap? Or are we wasting that much energy elsewhere that we definitely need that nap? And again, there's no harm in having it, but we've obviously got to make time for it so we're not sort of eating into other things and just pushing things back. With that schedule, so I'll somewhat write it if I can. So basically we'll have urgent, not urgent, and then important, and then not important. Keep the same theme. Cool. So a little sort of matrix like that can sort of help you sort of work out your tasks. So for example, again, it'll be so different for everyone else, but things that are important and urgent, like children crying, school paperwork, laundry, and helping your kids with homework. Again, this is specific to what Nicole Avery talks about, and obviously with her kids. Things that are important but not necessarily urgent. So meal planning, fitness, time with family, cleaning, and decluttering. Again, these are more specific to the individual. Tasks that are not important but urgent. Phone calls, some of them, children fighting, and perfectionism. So obviously, we want to get things right, but it's not necessarily important, right? The not important, not urgent, social media, TV, and shopping, like retail therapy, right? So if you can identify, so obviously the tasks that are sitting here, or even more so so those two, are going to be the ones that you might necessarily need to put at the top of your list, especially if it's important and urgent, that's going to need to be at the top, right? And if you can start to sort of use something like that to sort of help prioritize the task you need to be doing, and then the task maybe not so much, then you can sort of use that as your to-do list, right? Focus on those ones first, and then the little ones in the background. I know it's going to be brief on that, but as I said, there's a lot, as I said, post her page so you can go through a lot of the stuff. She's got more detail on pretty much everything here that can help. And as I said, she does online courses as well, both meal planning and obviously planning with kids, because she's got 5 of them, and she's a big representative for organising and planning. Was there anything particular, I know it was a bit sort of scattered. I'm hoping there was still at least some brief notes everywhere, but anything more?
Do you look at a specific goal and then look at that, or are you looking at everything generally?
So the goal would help, but if you're sort of sitting there and you're I don't know what to do, but I've got everything to do. So that's how so for me, that'd be something that the way I'd tackle it is I know everything I need to do. I might even have a list of everything I need to do, but then you're just that overwhelmed that you don't know where to start. Start looking at it as in what is important and urgent. And again, things that are urgent, they're going to need to be done now, whether even if they're not even that important, but they are still urgent. Things that are not urgent, you can sort of like push that back a little bit, but you don't want to be like chopping and changing between tasks. You want it to be that you're ticking it off. But I mean, in a goal, you can sort of filter it that way if you're finding it hard to sort of decide what 3 tasks, for example, you're going to focus on for a goal-specific thing, and that's how you maybe can filter it. But I would use that more of like, there's X amount of things to do and I need to find a way to decide where to start with that, because again, it can just be that overwhelming that you end up taking a nap. I've done that so many times. I have so much stuff to do and I'm like, no. Yeah.
This matrix is in the book 7 Habits of Highly
Really?
Effective People by Stephen Covey. And he talks a lot about your goal should be to move the important and urgent stuff towards the important and not urgent section. So come up with strategies and plans and like the stuff that Shannon's talking about to make it not urgent. So the most important category is important and not urgent. If everything's there, then your life's kind of sorted. So we want to try get rid of urgent and move it to not urgent.
Yeah.
It's a really fucking good book.
You know, I don't think I've read. No, I haven't read that one.
7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. It's like a Bible. Like, you need to read it. It needs to be read. Twice.
Yeah. Time audit.
Audible. Time in the
So we use the same thing for work.
Oh, beautiful.
For our state team leaders use it because they've got, I'll say 12 stores.
Yes.
That's small, but anyway. So they've got 12 people they've got to deal with. Then they'll categorise those people like, okay, they're worth spending time with, they need more training, they're not worth spending time with, that, you know, they're just going to plod and do their own thing anyway, even if I do spend time with them. So they split it up. But it's true. It's true. They're worth getting rid of, you know, but they split it up. They use it the same way.
Yeah.
Where to spend their time.
It just kind of helps like funnel it, I find.
Exactly what you're saying is about where to spend their time is where, probably not where to spend their time, what is worth them spending their time there.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So the same for us is that, you know, is it really important and urgent, or is it important but not so urgent?
Yeah.
It's like email, you know.
Yeah.
It's important but not urgent. But
Yeah.
we put it in the, or a lot of times, well, it's kind of not important a lot of times.
Yeah.
So it's not important and it's not urgent, but too often we put it in the important and urgent pile every time we like flick it open. So we need to move it to the not important, not urgent pile.
See, on that one for me, for example, like, so if I've got a few things to do, and like obviously like the weekly check-in, like that's one of my main like tasks at like my role, right? Now, like I'll still, like on a Sunday, right? If I do have the time and I don't have a few other things to do, I'll jump on early and I'll start replying to it. But if I do have a bunch of things to do, like my deadline is Tuesday, right? And like you will have a reminder email going out on Tuesdays now if you haven't done your check-in to get it done. But with that, if I've got a whole list of things that need to be done, to me, it is so important to get done, right? It's not necessarily in that major urgency on a Monday or even a Sunday night, because you guys have done it's your responsibility to do your check-in and to set your plan up for the week. My reply doesn't necessarily have too much of an effect unless you've obviously asked a specific question or whatever it may be, but it doesn't demand that answer Sunday night. So I'll have to, again, prioritise that, and again, it's important, but it's not urgent on a Sunday night. If I haven't gotten to it, obviously, on Tuesday, then that task on Tuesday becomes the urgent task, and it's important. Yeah. So for me, it kind of helps me weigh up tasks as well if there is quite a few, because you can definitely eliminate some that you're looking at and you're like, well, actually, it's not urgent, or again, it's just not important in general. Like I can just do that later. Like again, if you are desperately wanting to check like what Stu's doing on Facebook, like again, not important, not urgent in that moment. Like go check it later. Like you look like you're pondering.
The best thing that I ever did when you remember what was happening with me, that when it came in MRAP.
Yeah, MRAP. Yeah, I was going to mention part of that. Yeah.
I do it to the kids because like you're not watching, you're not paying attention, and I go, I will be present, but I'm doing a 5-minute MRAP. I have to check these and respond, and then I'll be with you. I do mini MRAPs throughout the day when I check my emails, and that's all the time I allocate to them and respond to them. So I'm not looking at them throughout the day. Where it was wasting my time.
Yeah, it's kind of like especially if you've got a competitive mentality, like it works really well. Like, I mean, I'll like, again, like, I mean, you don't want to obviously rush things and feel like you're rushing things, but certain things can be done, like, again, like cleaning the house, like fucking 10-minute AMRAP, go. Like, how much can you get done? A lot with the cordless.
The 4-hour work week covers a lot of that stuff too, about emailing and stuff like that.
So I've actually got an app.
What
I've been using this week at work, and it is, so it sets like 45, you can set the time, but I've got it set 45 minutes, so basically it's timing the 45 minutes so that it'll be when I can stop focusing on what I'm doing. So I've got to focus for 45 minutes.
Oh, yeah, cool.
So it's your AMRAP timer.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. It's like, because that's an idea.
Yeah. I have the, like, for social media, I have the opposite. It'll, like, be like, it sends me, like, kind of like passive-aggressive reminders. Like, they're like, most people are happy when they're not on their phones. They're the notifications I get, because I'll be like, I'll literally, and it might even be, like, for something important. And, like, because the app, it's called Space. That's another one as well. That one just, again, tracks your time, but sends the passive-aggressive messages. But it's good because, again, you'll get stuck in that friggin' rabbit hole, and then it will be like, dude, people are happier without this shit. Like, get off. Or you've been spending, like, it's been 5 minutes now, like, get off. Like, it's quite good in that because, again, you don't realise how quickly time goes. But they're designed to be that way. They're designed to be addictive, even though, again, you get nothing out of it at the end. Like, you are not any more happy than you were when you unlocked your phone. Like, so those, like, if you do anything from this, the time management, the rescue time stuff that we covered, do those. Even just if it's just the notification one, I promise you, your screen time will go down more than you think would be possible. Like, because it actually tells you on screen time the percentage it's gone down from like this week to last week, or even you can track it across the days.
Every Sunday.
Doing that one, like the difference of mine was like, poof, like crazy. Like it went from being like an hour and 40 minutes on social media one day to 24 minutes. Like it was crazy. And I didn't realize, like I knew like I spent a lot, but until I actually had limits set, I had the downtime put on. It made it so much easier to just not use it. And I was like, I was happier for it. Like it's what cliche, but I was so much happier without it. But I can't just delete it, like, because again, I need my work on it, so.
I deleted the Facebook app off my phone.
And then you regretted it.
Now
you had the...
I just use Google Chrome for it, like to check the members page or whatever, because it's not user friendly. Like it doesn't work at all and it pisses me off, so then I close it. So I get in, check the members page, check our coaching page, I might have to check my footy page because I'm running fitness, and then it's off. I'm done. Even
with that, you can get Newsfeed Eradicator on Safari on the phone as well. But obviously that's only going to be useful if you're using that rather than the app. But you did have troubles uploading a video this morning.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is quite
if I have to delete it, I have to re-download it and then I delete it again. But since I've had it deleted all month, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's the best thing I've done so far this year.
You know what I do as well? I'll leave my phone at home. If we're out, if I'm out with Matt, he's got one, so for emergencies, I just leave my phone down. So the kids can't answer it, and I don't have it.
You have a conversation with each other.
Yeah.
Any other questions or things that you want to sort of elaborate on?
You do sound like the other way. Do you find that you can become too obsessive? Like this weekend I'm doing my cooking and I'm doing my washing and I'm doing the cleaning and I cannot function unless it's done. And then when you said like go for a walk and be with your own thoughts, and that's something you really have to focus on, do you find you can go too much the other way and you think, oh, I need to let go and just go with life a little bit more than being so regimented?
I haven't found that personally. I mean, it probably would depend on the personality type that's done it. But I mean, having like a routine, it's not necessarily like, you know, drill sergeant style. Like, I mean, I know like, because I don't spend, because I've sort of, you kind of minimize it all down. So it doesn't actually spend a lot of time in the sense that it's almost like effortless-ish to do the stuff that you need to get done and to follow your routine. So it almost just like, it kind of just is this switch in your head that just, you go through the motions of it. I mean, for some it might, especially if you miss one thing and you might start freaking out. But the idea is that you've set things in place that you don't miss things and you don't start freaking out about it, or that, again, it's all written down, so it's not necessarily as crazy in your head. If there's certain things that you know will start to drive you crazy, then it might be having a look back, like if you start feeling overwhelmed, have a look back at what needs to be done, and then maybe we need to start just again like looking at prioritizing it, but finding maybe different ways to do it. Like if it's always the, you know, if you start stressing because like, you know, the whole like the meal prep on the weekend or whatever it might be okay like 1 week, just change it up a little bit. Maybe just look at doing like the meal plan where you've got like Monday might be this and that, rather than actually just prepping the food on that day. Because again, like especially like with CrossFit comps like All Stars, that can knock you out, right? In the sense that you spend all day there Saturday, you spend all day there Sunday. I don't know if it's the exact same style this time, but it might be, yeah. So, and you could spend all that time and you get nothing else done.
I'm taking Monday off work.
Yeah, so I went home after All Stars. So on the Sunday, I went home after All Stars, and I actually, because I still had to cook dinner, and I'm like, I had my sort of like cheat meal, like I don't even want to call it that, but I had grilled burger on the Saturday night. So the Sunday night, I'm like, I don't really need to have, you know, another going out meal. So I was like, well, I may as well cook dinner, and when I cook dinner, I'm just going to cook a whole batch of it anyway. And like, you know, it was late and I was tired, but I didn't want to spend that time on the Monday when I could be recovering and doing other stuff to get my week back on track. But things like that do come up, and your weekend routine just goes out the window. So again, for me, I had to look at what I had to prioritize, and for me, it was my food. So I got that sorted first, and then I dealt with the other tasks like Monday and just sort of like progressively built back up and then back on schedule. You already know you've got to be prepared and like just sort of acknowledge, okay, it's going to be a little bit of a mess. And look, I mean, like if I can accept things are going to be a mess, most people can. But no, like if you do start to get like that, I would say just sort of reevaluate everything and then sort of find a different way to do them, I think. Yeah.
Like, oh, what do you want? You want free time? I'm like, I don't want free time. Like, I don't like having that time to think. I'm like, I'd rather just be busy.
Yeah, and that's what so something deep down you're avoiding.
Yeah.
You're afraid of it.
Yeah, there's something, yeah, like it literally, like there's this whole thing on it that like those that just want that busy lifestyle, there's something that's like in your head that is needing you to do that, so you're avoiding those times where you can actually get in with your thoughts and work on things that you probably need to work on. So as uncomfortable as it's going to be, I'd be like, the priority for you would be allocating that time. Even like I said, if it's like going for a calm, slow walk, not like let's see how fast we can walk 3Ks, because then again you're just going to be like, oh, like okay, where are we at now? And you're just going to keep walking. You're not actually just going to like take it in. Okay, how's that bird flying? And just like observe things and just let it wander.
I was going to talk about next week, slow recovery. That if you get to that point, you need to wear a heart rate monitor that tells you you're going too fast and you need to stop.
Yeah.
Slow down. Because
So
it's important. You need that.
yeah. So you've got to like it's got to, again, that's a habit thing for you as well, like needing that desire, like that desire to be busy.
Yeah.
So one of your focuses, like I would say, would be a good idea to just try and slow some things down, and it may just be once a week, like 10 minutes of just nothing, or even just like playing like your favorite song and just nothing else is happening, and just lay there and just listen to it. And just start with something as small as that, and then just gradually, or drive from home to here with no music. Things like that is my favourite thing to do, but because you're already doing something, so you're still not completely alone, but we need to get that out, I reckon, yeah. Something we can definitely work on.
Dive straight into a float tank and
Stu's got some books.
yeah, it's books. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Bible-like necessary. Practicing Mind was Shannon's recommendation through
Nicole Avery.
Nicole Avery. 4-hour work week, especially for things like emails and just not wasting time. Yeah. And stillness is the key, which is what we're just talking about in terms of like being still. It is fucking awesome.
Read that one. Like, I haven't finished it, but I'm like frothing over each section. Like, it is.
This book, Ryan Holiday.
It may as well be in a like explicit section of a bookstore. It is amazing. But honestly,
The 3 books that he brought out, they're all around the similar thing, the same theme. Ego is the enemy, the obstacle is the way, and then stillness is the key. Read those 3 books and you're pretty much set up. It's all stoic kind of stuff. But yeah, stillness is the key. He uses lots of examples of like people like Benjamin Franklin and or the Prime Minister during World War II, the British Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, talks about him and his routine for the day. And he had a lot of downtime, yet he like steered Britain out of like near hell, and just all those sorts of things, and about how the fear of like not being still, but then when you allow yourself to be still, you come up with new ideas and new revelations and things that would never have happened if you didn't allow yourself to be still. And he uses like Winston Churchill, it's like if he didn't go on walks, he wouldn't have come up with strategies to beat the Nazis. Like, and then you're like, oh fuck, I better be still then. Like, so, yeah.
And I think it was like Benjamin Franklin. I think on his, it's like he tries to conserve as much energy. I'm hoping it's him that I'm like relating this to, but it was saying how he likes to conserve as much energy as possible, so then obviously he can put it into the right things, but obviously to try and create that stillness. So he says like, why stand when you can sit, and why sit when you can lie down? Like that's that sort of conserving energy like process that he kind of uses with how he does what he does. But yeah, there's so many different stories from different types of people. And Frank as well, and that goes on to the journaling as well, like, and how again she didn't do it every day, but it was like the emotional side of it as well.
What's the Stoic philosophy?
Yeah, is that the one that says it's an ancient
Lincoln, there's a whole section of Abraham Lincoln during the what's it called, Civil War, and about how they beat the Southerners, and a lot of that was due to him thinking, spending some time thinking. Yeah, there's like an artist who she didn't exhibit, and she sat there in front of just like, so people would come in and she'd just sit there and they wouldn't talk. It would just being in that moment. She did it for like hours, like I'm guessing it's like 40 something plus hours, not talking, just sitting across from someone, and people would swap out like the exhibit went. And they would know if she was not in that moment and being in that moment of stillness, because you would see, like, if you're sitting across from someone and if they're not in that moment with you, if they're thinking about, like, oh, what am I going to have for dinner tonight, you'll start seeing that and sensing that. But with each and every person, like, she created that level of stillness and, like, kind of, like, communicated without communicating. And people cried, like, and it was just really interesting because as well in this same exhibit, people waited hours to get in, but they spent a lot of that time waiting, like scrolling on their phones and stuff like that, like not actually being present in the moment. Meanwhile, she was sitting there, no toilet breaks, no eating, nothing, just being in the moment with each individual person. There's a video on YouTube about it as well, and you can actually see one of the videos of her with, I think it was like almost like a long lost friend sort of situation as well. But they talk about her and how she like had to create that. Like that's such deep level of stillness to be able to do something like that. Like I have no idea how she did that, but that one was a really good one to read. And then that's when I went onto YouTube and I was like, who is this chick? What did she do? What did it look like? Like it was really cool. Yeah. My last thing to vouch for that is I spent a lot of time on that related stuff over the last year, like spending time just stopping and thinking. And not only have I come up with better ideas and done better things, like a lot of like creating this happened sitting on a cliff in Bali reading books and looking at waves. But I'm also a lot more content with everything. Like I don't get FOMO as much anymore. Still dealing with a bit of JOMO. Or that's the good one, isn't it?
When I say JOMO, I don't have to go to an event or catch up with someone because if that stresses me, that stresses me to get there to please them to do all that. It's okay to say no. Yeah, I wanted to come here tonight. I didn't go out for Luke's birthday dinner because this is important to me. It's okay that I said no. And Matt's like, you go. That's okay. And I'm like, yeah, I am okay with that.
Yeah. So, I'm finding, I was a bit of a FOMO person growing my whole life, and I'm getting very content with being like, it's okay, I don't need that anymore. Like I even said to court tonight, like, I reckon I'll play footy this year, and I reckon I'll be done. And she's like, bullshit. And I was like, you know what, I reckon I can get what I want out of it this year, and I can be very content in not trying to force something that's probably not there. And I don't think I would have felt that way if I hadn't sort of practiced this sort of stuff.
Can I just say on the other side of that, my uncle's new partner, she's doing counselling for teenagers. She's just become qualified, and the biggest thing is that our kids are dealing with his anxiety, and it's this big issue. And the thing is also that what they're trying to teach is preventative now, is that anxiety is natural and it is normal. And if you feel like you can't be still and you've got all these thoughts in your head, those thoughts are normal. we all have them. It's just when we choose to bring them in or not and have that and allow that time. Because you are allowed to be, like I am, I'm this obsessive, highly functioning person a lot of the time, but I do have those moments. Yeah. And allowing
you feel
yourself
like
that.
sitting there like, you could be doing something right now.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be sitting there. There's stuff you can do.
So you need to find something like, so for me it's crosswords, or I can't do meditate, so it's Sudoku, crosswords, something still, or reading a fiction book, so it stimulates my mind and I'm somewhere else, but it's still working, but I'm not doing any of that else. So you have to find your stillness. Yeah.
But still find time to be still.
On that note,
Yeah, no more. Yeah, unless anyone had anything.
That was great.
fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.